Okay, so have you guys been noticing all these things that are being pushed onto women recently? Because I definitely have. Like these betting apps and prediction markets, it kind of feels like it came out of nowhere, and now I see them being advertised everywhere on social media. I've seen these sort of things in the sports betting kind of way. I feel like that's fairly normalized at this point. People like to bet on games. They do fantasy leagues and March Madness brackets. But now it feels like it's been moving beyond the sports realm. Now I'm seeing that you can bet on whether it's going to rain tomorrow, what the president's going to do next, who's going to win at the Oscars, whether a new GTA will drop this year. Just these very mundane things, but also very weirdly specific. Personally, not my cup of tea, but I also understand how much gambling has people in a chokehold because of the psychology behind it. But something about it still feels really weird to me because yes, these platforms exist, but they're starting to expand into every corner of culture like sports, politics, weather, reality TV. Honestly, anything with an outcome can become something people can bet on. And it really has me wondering why this is happening right now, because gambling and prediction markets have always existed and had their own specific audience. And that audience has historically been mostly men, especially with things like sports betting, fantasy leagues, and March Madness, all of those sorts of things. But that market obviously has limits, and if you're a company, growth is usually the goal. So once you've already reached the obvious audience, you start looking for the next one. And while for the most part that expansion has been targeted at guys, more and more it's looking like the next audience they're trying to reach is women. But I don't think this is just about selling to women. There's definitely something else happening here too, because I saw the Kylie Jenner X Meta glasses campaign and it gave me a very similar feeling. Meta has had a rough few years. The metaverse didn't really pop off the way they wanted, and they've been dealing with a lot of privacy concerns and lawsuits, bad press, and a general lack of trust from a lot of people. So when I saw Kylie Jenner being used to promote these smart glasses, my first thought was, okay, I see what they're doing here, because the glasses aren't being sold as scary future tech. They're being sold more so as fashion and lifestyle, convenience, something aspirational, something an it girl can casually wear while getting ready in the morning. And obviously, gambling and wearing AI smart glasses aren't the same product, but they gave me a similar feeling. Like companies are taking products that already have some kind of bad reputation problem. Maybe they feel creepy or addictive or invasive, very morally gray. And instead of fixing the thing people are uncomfortable with, they're trying to change who the product is associated with. And that's really the part I want to discuss today, because women are not just being targeted as consumers, they're being used as proof that the product is harmless. And I think that's really the interesting shift that we're seeing. Clearly, these industries are hitting the limits of their original audience. So today I want to talk about why so many questionable products are suddenly getting this soft, more feminine rebrand, and why inclusion into something harmful is not always the progress that we want. What's up, YouTube? I'm tinysey, and if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. But if you are new here, thank you so much for dropping in. Feel free to look at this video, peruse through my catalog. I hope we all enjoy today's topic. I've been seeing so much about, the meta glasses and just AI and sports betting and all these sorts of things. I feel like I'm finally going to give my take and my piece on it. I feel like it's finally time. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you like it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, hype the video, and welcome to my digital garden. Before we get further into it, today I partnered with MyHeritage for this portion of the video. MyHeritage is a platform that helps you explore your family's history through DNA, historical records, family trees, and different features that let you learn more about where you come from. And right now you can get the MyHeritage DNA kit for $19 with my code tinysey, and you can scan the QR code on screen or use the link in my description. I was really excited to try MyHeritage because I've always been curious about my background and what my family history could possibly be. I feel like a lot of us grow up knowing little pieces of our family story, but there's always more underneath that you might not know. I've always heard that my ancestors come from Congo, so I'm curious to see if that was actually accurate. I'm also hoping there's some info that surprises me. The test itself that I took was really simple. You get the DNA kit, do a quick cheek swab, send it back to their lab, and then once your results are ready, you can open them and start exploring. So now my results are ready and I'm going to open them and see what I got. Okay, so Congo is there. Well, I guess it's not like super specific, but they're showing the region, which makes me feel like, okay, the family history that I was told was, pretty correct. Okay, so they do a little bit of a breakdown and they did get Guyana in there. That's where my parents are from, so this is pretty dang accurate. One feature I thought was really cool is DNA matches, which can connect you with people who share DNA with you. So you can potentially discover relatives, family connections, or branches of your family tree you previously didn't know about. I'm seeing my uncle and I think some cousins. I know some of these people and you can see if you have any relatives that maybe you didn't know. Once you get like really down in the weeds though, that's where it's like 0.9% DNA match, which is still really interesting. Fourth cousin, like very interesting. Never heard of these people, never have met these people. They also have the traits feature, which I found pretty interesting. They explore a bit about how your genetics influence different aspects of yourself. So you can find out things like whether you're a night owl or like to chase thrills. And for privacy, MyHeritage states that they never sell or license your genetic data. So right now you can get the MyHeritage DNA kit for only $19 with my code tinysey. And this comes with a 30-day free trial and free shipping. You can scan the QR code on screen or use the link in my description to check it out. And thank you again to MyHeritage for partnering with me on this portion of today's video. So I really want to get into these glasses and all the commotion that's been starting because of them. If you didn't know, smart glasses have been around for quite a while. I remember when the Google Glass was a thing. It was so futuristic to me back then. It looked like something out of Dragon Ball Z. I thought it would be really cool and helpful, like maybe it would have a GPS embedded into it or something, but at the time people thought it was kind of weird and more so showing us how tech was overreaching into people's privacy. Also, people didn't like the idea of someone walking around with a camera on their face. Again, it raised a lot of those questions around privacy, consent, and whether you would even know if someone was recording you in the first place. People hated it so much that Google Glass wearers literally got called glass holes. And I think a lot of that anxiety around camera glasses is still there. Even though the technology has gotten better and even though we've already given up so much privacy through social media, there's still something uniquely uncomfortable about someone walking around with a camera on their face because it changes the social contract. With a phone, at least you can somewhat tell that somebody's filming you. They have to hold it up and point it at you. There's some form of visual cue, but glasses are a little bit different. They sit on your face like a normal accessory, so it's harder to tell off bat whether you're being recorded. And Meta's been picking up where Google Glass left off with the whole smart glasses thing, but in partnership with Rebrand, and now the glasses are a lot more wearable and normal looking compared to how they looked before, which I think they definitely need to do if they were going to get anybody to buy in. But I'm seeing how people are still concerned about the privacy of it all. In 2024, 2 Harvard students built a project that combined Meta smart glasses with facial recognition. The idea was that someone could look at a stranger and pull up personal information about them in real time. Again, very much giving those Dragon Ball Z scouter glasses vibes, cool in an anime, but very creepy in real life, or at least disconcerting. Meta ended up not moving forward with that feature, and who really knows why? I mean, I have my guesses, but the fact that students could even build that kind of tool shows why people are nervous about this technology in the first place. The combination of the camera, AI, and facial recognition all together is way too much power. At that point, it's pretty much wearable surveillance tech, and people are societally becoming way more aware of all the surveillance that already is going on. Also, in 2026, a Swedish investigation reported that workers at a Kenya-based subcontractor had been reviewing footage from Meta smart glasses. And some of the footage was very private stuff, people undressing, people using the bathroom, people in intimate situations. Exactly the worries I usually have when it comes to technology like this, or the Ring camera, or really any camera viewing you in a private situation. A lot of the people in those videos probably didn't even know they were being recorded. And not too long after the incident, Meta was hit with a class action lawsuit over its smart glasses privacy claims. And Meta's marketed these glasses around there being privacy and users having control, but if your footage is somehow being reviewed by human contractors, then people are obviously going to question how much control and privacy they really have. And the glasses are not some tiny niche product either. Apparently, more than 7 million of these smart glasses were sold in 2025. So it's gone beyond being this weird gadget for a handful of tech guys to having a lot more mass appeal. This is a product Meta is clearly trying to push into the mainstream more and more. There is a small LED light that's supposed to turn on when the glasses are recording so that people nearby have some kind of signal, but people have already found ways to tamper with or block that light.
Old Meta light blocker?
The capture LED is blocked. Unblock the front of the glasses to use the camera.
Versus the new Meta light blocker. Wow, look at that. I'm recording just fine, and there's no flashing light.
And Meta has had to announce update after update to make the camera turn off if the light is tampered with, which again tells you something. If the privacy safeguard needs its own safeguard, then people's concerns were not irrational. So with everything going down with the product and the somewhat negative reputation it already has, Meta decided, hey, let's launch a Kylie Jenner Meta Glass collaboration, in my mind, to save the product's reputation. And honestly, from a marketing perspective, I get why they chose her. Kylie is one of the most recognizable women to a lot of the younger generation. She's known to be fashionable and aspirational with a lot of women in particular. She understands social media, and she herself has spent years turning products into these big cultural moments, if you think of like her lip gloss and things like that. So if you're trying to make smart glasses feel less like creepy tech and more like something that a stylish woman would actually want to wear, then Kylie's going to be a good choice. The Kylie version of the glasses are slimmer and oval, inspired by her personal style. There's a little gem detail near the lens. Her voice is built into the Meta AI experience.
My Meta glasses have my voice, so when you talk to Meta, it's me talking to you, so I've been talking to myself. What's the weather like right now in New York City?
68 degrees in New York City right now, light showers and cloudy skies.
Which is kind of crazy because that means she sold her likeness away to Meta. The whole thing seems to be a bit parasocial, seeing as you'll be hearing Kylie's voice in your ear, but also meant to be fashionable and very day in the life of an it girl. The most controversial part of the product is the camera, but the campaign makes the glasses feel like fashion and lifestyle and convenient for content creators. So it's more so centered around it being a cute accessory you could wear while getting ready in the morning, and then you can post the clips to your social media account. So it's being marketed as an easier way to get content. There's this concept called the halo effect, which is basically when positive feelings about one thing spill over onto something else. So if people are associating Kylie with beauty and status and femininity and being aspirational, then the product gets to borrow some of those feelings. And if they're successful, then the glasses will feel a lot less like the surveillance hardware that it is and more like an it girl accessory. But as we can see, the actual product didn't really change, and the privacy concerns are still there. The lawsuits are still there. The history of people using camera glasses in creepy ways are still there. The campaign with Kylie is just changing the emotional feeling around all of it. It makes the product feel more desirable or socially acceptable. And so not only is Kylie being used to sell Meta glasses to women, but she's also being used to make everyone feel more comfortable around the surveillance aspect as well. And I guess this isn't super surprising coming from the Kardashian crew, but I feel like there should be a bit more responsibility in the fact that she's helping normalize surveillance technology as a sort of lifestyle product. And I think that's honestly Meta's bigger move. So I've been meaning to talk about the sudden prevalence of gambling and prediction markets and applications for quite a while now, and I guess I finally get to say my piece. So let's talk about that. These platforms started overwhelmingly with men, so things like sports betting, fantasy leagues, prize picks, DraftKings, FanDuels, all of those sorts of things. For me, I think the marketing is what showed me that. If you've seen a prize pick ad recently, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In the marketing, they like to use people like Drewski and Marshawn Lynch, Sean O'Malley, Joe Budden, and they've been pushing these products very heavily. The campaigns are built around the energy of hanging out with your boys and locking in your picks. They seem to be speaking to a young male audience that already lives inside of sports culture. And we're also starting to see that the marketing is actually working. They have taken the bait. Common Sense Media released a report saying 36% of boys aged 11 to 17 had gambled in the last year, with that number getting even higher among older teen boys. And Harvard Magazine had also written about gambling becoming a growing public health concern, especially among young people who are gambling online despite age restrictions. And to be clear, I'm not saying every person who's placed a bet has a problem, but it can be very addictive, and these sorts of things can be an entry point. People really will chase that dopamine hit when the outcome goes their way. That's kind of the whole mechanism. And it's been really concerning how much gambling and prediction markets are being pushed. I can't watch a Drewski video without there being some sort of gambling ad read that's in there. Or Drake, he pretty much did a whole live stream where he was just sitting there gambling like thousands of dollars. That's where that whole "I need a max win" meme came from a few years ago. It was from a gambling stream. And I know a lot of these people have a predominantly young male audience, which is why we're seeing the numbers start to rise. And I feel like there's always been a negative stigma towards these sorts of things in society, or at least an awareness that it shouldn't be normalized. So I'm kind of surprised to see how many people are willing to advertise and affiliate with these sorts of businesses. And as we establish, a lot of these companies and people doing the advertising have a strong male audience. But if you're a company that's trying to grow, eventually you hit a ceiling with the people you already know how to reach. And now it looks like they're moving towards the untapped market of women. With the new season of Love Island, I've been seeing this shift where those betting and prediction markets are moving out of sports and into culture. So things like reality TV, award shows, celebrity gossip, pop culture drama. So things that have huge female audiences and huge fandom cultures that are already built around them. And I have no idea how to pronounce them, but Kalshi and Polly Market have started creating markets around Love Island outcomes, like who's going to win, who's going to get dumped, what couple is going to make it to the end. It's being presented kind of like you're analyzing it, or like you're not really gambling, you're just making predictions with the girls. They are being very careful with their framing, because if they just say gambling, people are honestly going to be scared away. That has a lot more baggage associated with it, but prediction market sounds smarter, a bit more neutral, because I'm pretty sure if you tell someone they're gambling on Love Island, they might be a smidge more hesitant to take part. But if you tell them they're using a prediction market or trading on culture or investing in what they think will happen next, now it feels a little bit more different. And that kind of feels like the point. It's no less risky just because they try to rebrand the language. There's still huge concerns around the addictive nature of it all. It's still the same mechanism as before. You're going to put money down, you wait for an outcome, and you get a big dopamine hit if you're right. And then you'll want to do it again. And just because this is something usually being targeted at men doesn't mean women aren't just as susceptible. Blind boxes kind of have a similar anticipation loop. You pay money, but you don't know exactly what you're going to get. So the excitement comes from the reveal and finding out if you got what you wanted. Now, obviously, a blind box is not the same thing as sports betting or putting money into a prediction market. At least with a blind box, you still get an object, but psychologically there is a similar pull. But I don't think women have completely different psychology around risk, reward, and anticipation. I just think women have been marketed to differently. And now that the male market for gambling has become a lot more saturated, these companies are figuring out how to speak more to women. So of course, the product is different from the Meta glasses, but it feels like a similar move in my opinion. Taking these things that people might feel uneasy about and trying to change the emotional packaging until it feels like something the girls are also doing too. So I can't help but ask why we're seeing a push to market these things towards women, especially since we see that women traditionally haven't had much interest in these things. And I think a few things are happening here. The first one is the most obvious. These companies are trying to grow and the male audience is kind of saturated. They've done a lot of marketing towards them and they've been heavily targeted. That doesn't mean that every man uses these products, obviously, but it means the most obvious audience has already been identified, marketed to, and in many cases, captured. And naturally, if these companies want to grow even more, they're going to have to find a new target, and women become very useful there. Not only because women are also consumers, but because women have money, they shape culture, they influence what becomes mainstream. And I think most importantly, we can change how a product feels. When women visibly adopt something, it can make the product's image feel softer or make it feel safer and accessible. And for products that already have a reputation problem like surveillance glasses, gambling apps, anything that feels addictive, invasive, or kind of creepy, this is extremely valuable. Getting women on board allows companies to borrow a new image, and we've seen this happen in other industries as well. Alcohol especially is a huge one. It's always had this reputation for being risky and addictive, but when it gets marketed to women, it often gets softened into something cute like skinny cocktails or mom wine. We love a cute, pretty canned drink. At least the pink packaging and pink washing can get me sometimes. Then it starts to feel more like, girls' night out, or depending on how they do it, self-care. The product is still alcohol, but marketing can change the feeling and the meaning that we place behind something. I think that's why the Kylie Jenner campaign is so interesting to me, because the problem with Meta glasses is twofold. On one hand, they need a larger customer base, but on the other hand, they also need to change the way people feel about the product itself. A lot of women already associate camera glasses with being recorded without their consent, especially by men. They're seen as something that could be used to film women, harass them, or capture footage without them knowing. So getting Kylie to wear them does two things. It can introduce the glasses to female audience, but it can also make the product feel less like the surveillance tech and more like fashion. And if the rebrand works, the bigger concerns people have about this technology will start to fade into the background. Then the product doesn't have to actually become less invasive. They don't have to listen to our concerns. People just have to start feeling less uncomfortable around it. Similarly, if women are betting on Love Island, then hey, maybe these prediction markets and betting applications aren't that bad. And that's really how the normalization process will start. It happens because you see these things in enough casual situations or aspirational contexts that it doesn't seem as concerning to you anymore because, hey, everyone else is doing it. The first time society saw camera glasses, they felt very invasive. But now, since people see them in fashion campaigns and morning routines, celebrity launch parties, they start to feel a little less weird. And mind you, it's not because they solve the privacy concerns, but because the product is becoming more familiar to people. And that's pretty much why people have so many concerns around surveillance technology. There's that fear that once a technology becomes normal enough, people start behaving as if being watched is just part of regular life. And that also worries me to an extent because I don't think this kind of technology should be normalized so quickly. And I think this is especially interesting because Gen Z will be the first ones to question the morality of certain technologies. Yet I feel they are the target audience of all of this. A Gallup survey found that Gen Z's excitement for AI dropped 14 points from 2025 to 2026, while anger increased 9 points and hopefulness fell to 18%. So this idea that young people will automatically embrace whatever new tech companies put in front of them is not as true as it used to be, which is probably why they're looking for a rebrand even more. If people are actually feeling skeptical about these things, then the companies have to make the products feel more like something that they're choosing. Maybe that's by making it more aesthetic or more social or more empowering, more feminine. And that to me is the reason that all of this is kind of happening right now. These industries need growth, trust, and legitimacy, and women are being used to provide all three. So after going through all this, I think this is the part that I keep kind of coming back to. A lot of these companies aren't really trying to address the issues that people have with their products. They're just trying to make people feel less uncomfortable taking part. And to me, those are two different things. If a product has a reputation problem, you can either fix the problem or you can be slimy and just change the way the product feels by making it prettier or more social, aspirational, or feminine. Try to normalize it. And I can't lie, depending on what they're marketing, that can be really hard for people to resist. I understand the appeal of a Kylie collaboration. She's been an it girl since I was in high school. So of course, someone's going to see those glasses on her and think, okay, those are actually kind of cute. That's probably why they chose her in the first place. That's probably why she's going to get paid millions for this. The association with Kylie alone is enough to change how the product feels to people who weren't paying attention to these things before. And that's why this is also interesting to me, because Most Meta glasses buyers are still reportedly male. I know this Kylie thing just launched and we have yet to see how this really turns out, but it does have me thinking that the female rebrand may not only be about getting women to buy the glasses, it could also be about making everyone feel more comfortable around the men that are already wearing them. The main goal could be normalization. The product clearly doesn't have to become less invasive. People just have to start feeling less weird about them. And personally, I will not be partaking. The privacy concerns are enough to make me sit this one out. Also, I just can't really see the need. We already have cameras on our phone. If you need to record something, I feel like that should be enough, but alas, people will still buy. With the betting side of things, I think the Love Island numbers are showing a bit more success. Kalshi actually did see a shift in female users during the show's run. Barron's reported that female users doubled from about 13% to 26%, and female weekly active users rose 106% between June 8th and June 28th, compared to 54% for men. So the marketing is clearly doing something, and I get why Love Island works as an entry point for women. The show already has this cult-like following. People have very strong opinions about the couples. They're already debating and predicting and analyzing and arguing online. So once you add live betting into the mix, it just feels like you're participating in the fandom even more. But we don't really know yet if this sticks long term. Will women stay on the platform after Love Island ends? Will they move on to betting on other shows or sports or politics, weather, award shows, whatever else the platforms have? I don't know. Love Island is just the entry point, but ultimately I think people are becoming wiser about how these companies try to normalize things that people don't actually feel comfortable with. They don't really address the issues. They just see if they can manipulate people into buying these things anyway. And I feel like in these instances, the inclusion of women doesn't actually feel progressive. It just feels like they're trying to expand without addressing the real concerns that people have. I don't really feel like they care about the fact that women have already spoken out on how much they dislike some of these things. Women aren't being invited in because the product got better. They're being invited in because the product needs women to make it look better or be more socially acceptable. So I feel like overall we need to be a bit more aware of why some of these things are potentially happening. But that's just my 2 cents, and that's all I have for you for this video. I'm curious if you've noticed this pattern anywhere else in society right now. Are there other products that have gotten a similar rebrand and started to feel a little bit more acceptable? Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you again to MyHeritage for sponsoring today's video. You can get the MyHeritage DNA kit for only $19 with my code tinysey. Scan the QR code on my screen or use the link in my description to check it out. And if you made it this far in the video, please comment the cactus emoji, or if that emoji doesn't exist, any other prickly, itchy, kind of weird emoji. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.